And up for discussion next. I touched just a little bit about this yesterday, talking about the massive 20% gas hike per liter. Well, 20% period, but what was it per liter? 70 cents or something like that per liter increase in Mexico. And you're not hardly hearing about this on our media. Maybe a little blip here or there. No kind of real time spent on this. You got more time spent on fake news crap, like they've tried to, throw Trump under the bus recently. This child pedophilia stuff. It was a fake story. They got nailed. And then Trump, Mr. Trump, let us CNN, let us reply. Give us a chance. Give us to answer, ask a question. And no, why? Because you're fake news. Oh, I watched that and did it over, rewinded it, played it again, rewind it, play it again, rewind it, play it again. Oh, it felt great. It felt almost as great as when all those liberals were crying when he won, and they had their little focus groups and they were hugging each other and had their little blankies. Oh, almost felt that good. And it didn't feel that good, but it was a close second place. Fantastic. But Mexico's going to have some major problems. See, because you got to remember NAFTA and CAFTA and all this crap, which Bill Clinton did sign into law, which opened up the borders, free trade agreement back and forth. So Mexico, or Mexicans, have an opportunity to come over to America, make some money, but it really opened the door for us to send Mexico some stuff that the big corporations wanted to send over there, which actually, and I think it was like corn, if I recall, corn or something, some commodity, like corn, and it put them out of business because it was subsidized. And when you subsidize stuff, you get these NGOs to come in, and they have ways of getting stuff subsidized, and then it goes over there, so they can't possibly compete with subsidized food, corn stuff coming in, so they go out of business. They could become more dependent. More of them want to come over to our borders because they're struggling. So now that Trump is really kind of putting a hammer on that kind of stuff, nailing it shut, we're going to put up this wall, as soon as that happened, recently, as he got the final nod from Congress and everything on the 6th of January, all of a sudden this gas tax rate comes up. I mean, protests everywhere. It's getting pretty bad over there. And they're even talking about Tijuana. I'm thinking to myself, man, I remember having to go over to get my foot worked on Tijuana. Remember? Went across the border. My wife's doctor, which did the MS treatment stuff, went over there, cut my foot open, took out the cyst, all that stuff. And I was in a hurry to get that done because I'm thinking if things get bad in my country, I want to get over there and get this done before, you're not allowed to leave with a passport or something, let me get that stuff out of the way. Who knows how soon this crap's going to be hitting. That was just last year. It was just in June I was over there. So if this was right now and I had to go get my foot worked on, I wouldn't even go. I'm not risking going across the border with this happening. And then they see Gringo coming over while they're struggling, high gas prices. What the hell is this idiot doing over here? Let's jack him and take his money. That's what we're going to do. Good thing I got out of there early on. So, theantimedia.org has a good take on this story. Protests in Mexico push country to brink of revolution and nobody's talking about it. Again, a little blip here and there. But you turn on the TV, the mainstream, and they are not talking about this. It's more of the bullcrap, distraction stuff, stupid, idiotic stuff, exactly fake news, not even real. San Diego, California. Long simmering social tensions in Mexico are threatening to boil over as failing neoliberal reforms to the country's formerly nationalized gas sector are compounded by open corruption, stagnant standards of living, and rampant inflation. The U.S. media has remained mostly mute on the situation in Mexico, even as the unfolding civil unrest has closed the U.S.-Mexican border in San Diego, California, several times in the past week. Now, I didn't realize they actually closed the border several times. Again, imagine me taking off work. I'm going to be there on Tuesday. I'm coming. My doctor's daughter's supposed to pick me up at the airport, and we can't get back across the border. And I'm stuck with his daughter somewhere. What am I going to do? Get a hotel with her? My wife would probably like that. Although my wife wouldn't care. She would trust me, by the way. But same, difference. How would she feel? How would anybody feel? Like, imagine being stuck over here. I need to get over there. I got time off work. I need the surgery done. There's a try back tomorrow, sir. Wouldn't want to be. And then when I got over there, am I going to get mugged now? I mean, they may not have thought about mugging me days ago when the gas was okay, but now the gas prices aren't okay. They need gringo. He's coming across the border. He's probably got money. Can't bring a gun across the border like that now, can you? Absolutely not. So what? Oh, well, hope you don't got a lot of cash on you. Well, that's a funny thing you said that. I did have a lot of cash on me because I had to pay him in cash. See? Wouldn't be good. Ongoing, what they call gasolinazo protests in Mexico over a 20% rise in gas prices have led to over 400 arrests. And I had to read this part twice. 250 looted stores. I thought, individually looted stores. 250 individually looted stores. Whoa. And 6 deaths. Roads are being blockaded, borders closed, and government buildings are being sacked. Protests have remained relatively peaceful overall, except for several isolated violent acts, which activists have blamed on the government infiltrators. The few mainstream news reports that have covered the situation blame rising gas prices, but fail to examine several other factors that are pushing Mexico to the brink of revolution. Narco state corruption. The narco state, or as Mexican activists say, El Narco Gobierno, whatever, is a term used to describe the open corruption between the Mexican government and drug cartels. The narco state has been in the headlines lately over the kidnapping and presumed murder of 43 Ayotzinapa students in Iguala Guerrero in 2014. Okay. This has been a source of continuous anti-government protests ever since. Though the kidnappings remain officially unsolved, members of the Guerrero Unidos drug cartel have admitted to colluding with police forces to silence the student activists. 20 police officers have been arrested. 20 police officers have been arrested in association with the kidnapping. Can you imagine that? Oh, thank God you guys are here. I just... Policia, Jason 4, Policia, help me. Oh, I almost got mugged back there. I brought some money across. I got to get a major surgery on my foot done. The gringos won't do it in America, so I had to come across the border. Can you help me? Oh, yeah. Come in the car. And then they take me to the drug lord's house. You say you have money to pay the surgery, yeah? Yeah, I do. Good. You want to leave here with your life today? Yeah, I would. I would. Give up the cash, gringo. You don't have to ask me twice. Here it is. I already got it out for you. Take care. Can you drive me back to the doctor's office? Or maybe, forget that. He ain't going to work for free. Can you just take me back across the border? Thanks. Appreciate that. You can probably get their running code, as we call it in America, running code, license sirens. You're a cop. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate if you could at least do that on the way back. Could you imagine? But when the corporate powers, or in this case, the drug cartel powers, same difference, pay off government officials, and said government officials aren't making any money anyway, so they will take anything they can get. They are easily corruptible because in their mind, for my existence, my life, to pay the bills, I have to do this. So I'm sorry for anyone that I upset, but I must do this. It's the same problem we have everywhere. Massive government fraud, corruption, wrongdoing, all the way up to the top. And Mexico is a prime example of that. Former police chief Felipe Flores has been arrested. Former chief of police has been arrested and accused of offenses including organized crime and kidnapping the students. The corruption apparently goes all the way to the top, as federal authorities say former Iguala Mayor Jose Luis Abarca personally ordered the kidnappings. Now, of all the people you think would, put a hit out, let's get the kidnappings, that's like a mob boss. Not the freaking mayor, the chief of police. These are the people supposed to protect us, right? We're paying them their salaries. They have this power we gave them. You wouldn't expect to be kidnapped by them, would you? One Mexican activist who wished to remain anonymous told Anti-Media that, quote, a lot of people think it's only the online gas prices, but the price of gas is just the straw that broke the camel's back. It all started with Ayotzinapa. Much like the U.S., the Mexican government is susceptible to corporate influence. Just so happens that the most influential corporate entities in Mexico are drug cartels. And it's hard for the government to rein in entities that fund and infiltrate it. Similar to the phenomenon of regulatory capture, the Mexican government is at least partially funded and co-opted by drug cartels. This festering problem is an underlying factor in the current civil unrest in Mexico. NAFTA was a contentious issue in the 2016 U.S. presidential election, but it's just as controversial in Mexico, if not more so. The grand 1994 free trade scheme, signed into law by, you guessed it, Bill Clinton, saw a dramatic redesign of both the U.S. and Mexican economic landscapes. It was corn. I thought it was corn. Corn farmers, long a vital factor in Mexico's peasant farming economy, were wiped out by low-priced corn subsidized by the U.S. government, which immediately flooded Mexican markets after NAFTA was passed. The Mexican immigration crisis at the U.S. southern border soon followed. Meanwhile, manufacturing plants soon began moving into Mexico from the U.S. to take advantage of the extremely cheap labor, leaving many workers in the U.S. out of a job. American agricultural corporations like Driscoll's have recently come under fire for employing slave-like labor conditions to produce boutique organic fruit for U.S. customers. Protests for workers' rights in Mexico, which recently raised its minimum wage to 80 pesos or $4 a day, are often met with heavy-handed police crackdowns. Incoming President Trump has capitalized on two issues caused by NAFTA: the immigration crisis and outsourcing of U.S. jobs, and his reactionary protectionist economic policies will undoubtedly make Mexico's predicament even worse. Just like I was saying. But this all started with the trade agreements. I was watching a documentary this past weekend with the wife. It was on Netflix. I forget the name of it, but it was something about NGOs, non-governmental organizations. And they had people from Haiti on there, other countries, African countries, who said, yeah, we needed help when the earthquake and stuff hit, but just help briefly and that's it. He's like, when these NGOs get involved and they're bringing in, he's like, we still have bags every day coming in, huge bags, rice, USAID, rice, USAID. We had our own rice crop here. It was part of the economy. They would sell it. People would buy it. We even exported it. Now we can't because free rice is coming in from these USAID, these NGOs. How can someone who is charged, who has to pay for labor and growing the rice, compete with free rice? You can't. You go under. So now you have these people out of a job. And you have everybody reliant on this free rice coming in. But the free rice coming in doesn't help create jobs. So we got to have the jobs. So what they should have done is help the person produce more rice if it was needed at that time, or help where other things are needed, help set up companies within Haiti that could deal with these problems. That's how you help. And you see, the guy was saying, I created a company here. I have now, I think he said 40 or something people working for him. He says, see these lights? We install these lights. These are LED lights. They use very little power, street lights. And they have a battery in them, and they have a small solar panel or a couple of solar panels on top. So they recharge the battery during the day, charges up so the light works at night. We started doing this. I saw a need for this, so we started making it. He said, after this crisis hit, some companies from, I forgot where he said, some NGO got involved and sent a bunch of free solar panels to help people out. He says, how can I compete with free solar panels? So the city started using the free solar panels. I started losing jobs. He said, so now I had to cut my employees back. I had to do what I had to do to survive. Something like that. So the thing is, when you look at these NGOs, the NGOs are getting government funding, gravy train, as in aid. They get the aid for free, your tax dollars, and then they get to send off for profit, because remember, they're working with the government, so they're getting paid to deal with the free food going elsewhere. So as long as there's a crisis, the NGO, whose employees get paid handsomely, the CEO gets paid massively, unbelievable, like he's some kind of Fortune 500 company, executive making millions, and they want to keep that gravy train going. So there needs to be a crisis everywhere, and wherever the crisis is, we want to supply you the food for free. Really, it's being paid for by the American taxpayer or some other Western world, in this case, whatever, either or. And they're paying for it. But the third world country, who's trying to get its way, make its presence known in the world, is being crushed by this for these kinds of reasons. So it says, rampant inflation in Mexico. Perhaps the biggest driver of the current civil upheaval in Mexico is out of control inflation, coupled with the value of the peso reaching record lows, especially as of recently with Trump almost taking over. He's almost there. Mexican workers are already stretched thin financially as minimum wage hovers at $4 per day. Food prices, which were on the rise before the gas price increases, are set to climb 20% or more as they correlate closely with prices at the pump. According to Zero Hedge, in Mexico, it currently takes the equivalent of 12 days of minimum wage to fill a gas tank full of gas, compared to the U.S. 7 hours. So, I guess minimum wage in the U.S. was $7? 7 times 7 is $49, minus your taxes coming out of that, of course. I could see where it could possibly be about that high. If you're driving an SUV, you can put that in your tank. Me, on the other hand, 16, 17 gallons, not quite that high, but close. Makes sense. So what you can do in 7 hours of work, fill your gas tank, it takes a Mexican person at minimum wage 12 days of wages to fill up their gas tank once. Talk about carpooling becoming huge in Mexico. If it were me, and I could afford it, of course, which is the key over there, I'd have me an electric car, fully electric, like the little Nissan Leafs. You can get those things so cheap right now. 10, 11, 12,000 for like a year-old car. 10,000 miles, 15,000 miles, 7,000 miles. But they only go up to 100 miles before they need a recharge. However, how many people are driving 50 miles to work and 50 miles back every day? Not a lot of people. So, of course, you got to charge it, plug it in and charge it. But anyways, it doesn't matter. If they have to work 12 days for that, there's no chance they're going to have enough money to buy a Nissan Leaf or any other car like that. They're going to buy an old beater for $200. That's what they're going to have. Engines being held up by ropes and stuff instead of engine mounts. But with Trump in the position he's in, taking over, Mexico is going to go back the other way in a hurry. Sorry about that. But it is what it is. Take care.